I haven't recorded a podcast solo in a while. So here I am doing it solo. Today, I wanted to talk about a couple of experience I've had this past couple months, I think. No, what was it? So back in November of 2025, I got the opportunity to pose nude for my first live figure drawing club. And it's like this club that my brother told me about. And when I heard about it, I was like, dude, I want to do this so bad. And my brother had modeled for them. It was probably like almost like 3, 4 years ago that he modeled for them. Just a little disclaimer if you hear like banging, it is not me, it is my neighbor. I don't know what they're doing, but that is the one downside of living in even a in a beautiful in even in living in a beautiful apartment building like mine. You still have neighbors, you still have things going on. So I apologize if there's the occasional banging around. Um, but anyways, back to what I was saying. So yeah, my brother told me that he had modeled for this club and that they were super chill. Um, the group of people were like, I think like the people that were hosting it were at the time they were freshmen,
Mhm.
and they were putting together this club where you'd basically go in and you take off all your clothes and you pose for like maybe about like 2.5, no, 1.5 hours. And so I went in there, and my first time that I did it, it was back in October and November. And when I actually got like the notification that I had been like accepted, I had been wanting to do this like already for years now. And then when I got like the notification, I was like, oh shit. Like, I think I was like in the car with my mom too. I was like, Mom, I'm going to pose naked. And she was like, wait, what? Like, you want to do that? And I'm like, yes. Like, I've been wanting to do this. And so, super excited. I was like, I had no idea like what to expect, how many people were going to be there, or had no idea like what the heck to expect. And when I went there, like the people that greeted me were so kind. You could just tell that they were just like super chill, like they do this often. And I was just like, "Oh my god, like I'm going to be like there in a few minutes, like just naked on this thing." But the really interesting thing that happened to me was when I got there, they asked me to like go change, put on a robe. And then when they were ready for me to like begin, they were just like, "Okay, we're ready for you." And you just kind of like go, and they really leave it up to you. I don't know if it's like this for every live drawing session, but for me, they just basically told me, "You're welcome to pose however you want. We have these, different time increments, and then from there, we'll give you breaks in between." And so the schedule is clearly posted on the wall, and you can see it there. Someone else is recording the time, so I didn't have to worry about that. So when one session was like done, like when one set of like say 5 minutes was done, you would just pause, and then you would move into another pose. And then on the breaks, you would put your robe back on, and you would like just have some snacks, and there it is. And I just remember like finally when you get perfectly undressed, it's really interesting because they have this light that shines like directly like on one side of like the box that I was like standing on. And when you feel, I guess for me, I'm just going to say completely for my own experience, this is how I felt. I stood up there, and being completely naked, I could feel the warmth from the light just hit my entire body. And then after a little while, as you're like standing there in like this pose, you start to feel like the heat from the light. And you're just like, damn, it's getting hot in here. And I just remember like thinking, okay, it's just a short while, like you're going to be fine. You're going to get to take a break, you're going to have water, you're going to get to use the restroom like between, you're going to be fine. And so this is like the first experience that I'm having. It's just heat from this light. And that's the thing I'm thinking about. It's not the fact that I'm completely nude. It's not the fact that I'm thinking that people are judging me, or they're all artists. They're looking at my body like if it's an apple in a bowl. They're looking at my shapes. They're looking at the way the lighting is coming across. And I can understand this because I am an artist as well. And so maybe a part of that element is also so comforting in that they're not pulling me apart the way maybe someone else might. The way someone who, you know, if someone were coming into that class that didn't have some speck of knowledge about, why artists create the human form, then yeah, it would probably be a little bit more uncomfortable. If I had like people just like kind of looking at me, judging me, or even looking at my body like it's not good enough or all these things, I feel like when I view certain types of TV, I can kind of get that vibe. Like if I were to put myself fully clothed onto that type of TV show or something or other, like I would be judged for how I look. Yet when you're in a space like that of safety, I didn't get that vibe at all. And maybe it's also because of the type of work that I've done, like internally, that I've really allowed myself to get to this point where I can stand amongst people and be fully nude, clothed, whatever it is, and be really comfortable in my skin, be really proud of myself, period. And so when I get into a space where I am, you know, what most people would think, like that's the most vulnerable state you could possibly be in, it's like, am I? Because there's other situations where I feel like I'm in way more vulnerable of a state and I'm fully clothed. So it just fascinates me that I got there. I'm there doing my poses. They're seeing my body in all its just nakedness. And then afterwards, when I put my robe back on and I have a break, they're not looking at me all awkward and, oh my God, I saw your tits, or I don't know, something weird like that. It's just they're looking at me in my eyes. They're having a conversation. They're saying, how did you feel? It's like that is something like to behold, truly. The fact that you can have that type of like connection with someone where you're, doing your thing, they're sketching me, I'm, there posing, maybe in an uncomfortable position for a long time. And then all of a sudden, like, we take a break and they're like, hey, how did you feel? That is such, to me, that's an erotically mature like presence. Those are the types of people that I want to continually surround myself with. Because if you're already like in that place where you can't even like look in someone's eyes, or you can't even, I don't know, have a conversation with someone after they're doing something like that for you, it's like you have some things that you need to work through. You have some things that maybe you're not addressing in yourself. And to me, like, even if, because it's part of the human experience, I think judging people is very natural. I think that feeding off of that judgment is what gets very unhealthy. And so even if they were to maybe look at my, I don't know, at my butt or at some part of my body and think like, oh, wow, she doesn't look like how I look. It's different. Okay. Like, it's different. But they're not going into this whole narrative around like, oh, she looks worse than me. She looks better than me. I have more muscle tone there, or I have, you know, she has more fat there, or all these different things. And I think that's the type of like mindset that I've worked on like these past several years that have really gotten me to this place to be like, damn, this is amazing. So I liked it so much, I did it again. And this time, it was a couple of weeks ago. It was around Valentine's Day. I think it was like the week of Valentine's Day. And they accepted me to be their model for that week. And they were like, hey, do you feel comfortable being, you know, nude with someone else? And mind you, other than my partner, it's been a really long time since I've been completely naked, like with another person, another human being. I've had friendships where I was completely comfortable being fully nude. Um, but even around like certain family members, like as comfortable as I am around them, I just feel like for me, sometimes it gets to a point where I want to be respectful of their comfort. And so I hide my body just for their comfort. Um and I'm realizing like wow, like it just felt so natural to be, you know, nude with this other individual. The crazy thing is that she is normally on the opposite end. So she is normally the one sketching. So she's part of the club. And she was just like super chill. It was her first time modeling. She's modeling in front of her peers. And I just like thought to myself, damn, like this is so chill. The fact that someone like her can be on that end and then also be on this side is just amazing. And I love it so much. So yeah, I had a really good time. And half the time we were just really like calm and we were doing like really easy poses, like laying down. I do remember there was one point where um, we weren't really sure like what pose to get into. And so she asked like the person who was holding time, she's like, how do you want us to, you know, stand? How do you want us to, you know, pose? And they were like, well, maybe, you know, Stephanie can get on her knees, offer you this flower, and you could be standing there. This pose, oh, what was it? Maybe 20 minutes? Damn, I can't remember. But I'm literally on my knees and I'm holding up this flower and she's standing there and occasionally we're like making eye contact. Like if I were to look straight ahead, like her crotch is like right there in my face. And I think the thing that just made me feel so like at ease was the fact that like so often I would see her like smiling and then she would kind of giggle and then that would kind of make me like start to like, oh my gosh, I hope I don't start giggling too. And then so the whole time you just kind of like pick a spot like on the floor, on the roof, on the ceiling, on the wall, wherever, and you find one point and you just like look at that point. And you're just like practicing that like breathing. Like it's pretty meditative actually when you're getting into it. Sometimes you can start to go into thinking, but most of the time you're just coming back to like presence. You're like, I'm here, I'm staring, I'm holding, I'm posing. And you're just, and then again, your brain kind of wanders and you're like, I'm standing, I'm posing, I'm holding. And then pretty soon the time is just up. So they really encourage you too that at any point if you feel like discomfort that you're more than welcome to shake out that part of your body and just if you really feel like you need to move that they're more than accommodating to like put you back into the pose. um yeah, but for the most part I was just like, I'm chilling, I'm good. Um, except for the last part. The last part I was kind of suffering. I was I was on my side, and I had chosen a pose where my arm was bent and underneath, and I was laying on my side, and she was opposite me, so she was behind me and laying the exact same way, which is so wild because we didn't plan that. But at one point, my whole arm just fell asleep, and I started to feel like these insane, like, pricks and needles, and like, oh my gosh, so much discomfort in my arm. And at one point I had to, like, okay, like, shake it off. I put it back. And then again, it happened again. I was like, no, please. Like, this is awful. I think it feels that way because you want to honor the artist. You really want to, honor their sketching and their time. And so that was the first time that had happened to me where I had to, like, come out of a pose because it was so uncomfortable. And it's interesting because at one point my body was saying to me, this hurts. Like, this is really uncomfortable. And then the pain grew and grew and grew, and I couldn't stay in that pose any longer. And so it's almost like this type of, like, conversation that you have to have with yourself on, okay, I know that this is, uncomfortable, but we're going to sit with it a second. We're going to allow ourselves to be uncomfortable, and we're just going to, like, see it. We're going to witness it. And so I'm there, I'm feeling it. And then this other voice comes into mind, and it's, this is going to hurt so bad once you move your arm. And I think that's the thing, like, just for me in general, that makes me like freak out a little bit. It's like, oh my gosh, that pain is going to be so excruciating. It's going to be even worse if I don't move it now. And so I just let it be before I moved. And then I started feeling it in another part of my body. And immediately I was like, oh no, I shouldn't have chose this position. And there it is, that voice that goes to, you did something wrong. Now you're paying, like, for the consequence of it. Like, your consequence is the pain. And I'm like sitting, and I'm laying there, and I'm like thinking all this to myself. And I'm just like breathing throughout the whole thing. And I'm having this internal conversation with myself about, you didn't choose the right pose, you rushed into it, all these things. And then it would go away. And occasionally, something would, like, happen over here to my foot or to my hip or something. And then it would come back to the arm. And it was always, like, moving all over. It was like that conversation. It was like this, that. Nope, you're okay. You're safe. You're fine. The pain is okay. Like, the discomfort is, you're safe in the discomfort. And then it got to that point where I was like, nope, if I don't move my arm, like, right now, like, I'm going to literally whimper from how much, like, this is hurting. So I extended, I shook it out, I put it back, and that was that. And it's like, it probably happened a couple more times, like, but this was during the long pose, like the longest pose that I had ever held for them. When I posed alone, they had shorter but more poses. And because it was two people, they had us both um, do longer poses. And so the last pose, I think, was an hour long. And I was just, whew. If you have ever been in one position for an entire hour, you know that naturally your body wants to move. Just even in little ways. It's like, maybe, like, repositioning, if you're sitting in a meditation for that long, your butt starts to get numb, or your neck starts to kind of get a little bit, like, tense, or all those little things. And so when you're laying on your side and you're fully awake, you're not asleep, your body is like, this is uncomfortable. We want to move. We want to shake. We want to not be hot from this little light that's like beaming on our faces. And you have to really challenge that. And I love that about posing. I really do. I think that it's such a beautiful practice when you actually get to challenge yourself first. Yes, to be nude in front of these people that you don't know, complete strangers, but challenging that part of your mind that goes to those places of this is uncomfortable. We have to get out of here. We got to move. And when you stay, you almost train your brain like, hey, I'm safe to be here. I'm safe to be in this position for 60 minutes and be breathing calmly and, to even open your eyes occasionally or close them. Like all these different things, all these different conversations that you're having with yourself. And then all the while just being like so present and knowing that it's not going to last like for the rest of your life. It's just a moment, and that's going to be okay. Like you're going to be safe to just be in that moment. So yeah, I love this so much, and I'm so glad that I'm finally sharing this because the first time that I posed, I had wanted to talk about this. I had wanted to really like share my experience beyond just being naked in a room full of people, because I know for a lot of people, when I have mentioned, my little miniature adventure, when I mention it to people, there's one of two things that I've noticed. And there's the people that are like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And it's almost like they're leaning in, like they would love to do that themselves. And then there's the other people that, wow, okay. And they're not leaning in. They're like, no, 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 I do not want to do that. And so I always like, I wonder where that comes from. Is it just the simple like fact of being naked in front of other people that's like keeping them from doing something like that? Is it all that self-talk that they have in their heads? It's like, oh, I'm not skinny enough, or I don't have big breasts, or perky breasts all the way up to my like chin? Or is it the fact that I have some cellulite and my arms are a little bit flabby? Or is it the fact that I'm a man and I don't have muscle definition in certain places, or I don't know, or the size of my penis, or all these different things? It's like, or even like body hair too. I know for me, that was like one thing that I really just, I I really am confident when it comes to my body, but with body hair, something about just hair in general. I feel very like passionate about people just doing whatever the heck they want to do with their bodies when it comes to like their hair. Cutting it, dyeing it, you know, trimming it in a certain way, like all those things. I love that so much. For what you love, do that. I don't, however, like this whole I think it's a very like American thing. And as an American, I've been taught like not to have any body hair, like anywhere except for here and here, and that's it. Just your head and your eyebrows in a certain way, and that's it. Everywhere else needs to be completely just bald. And I think for me, it's gotten to a point, well, as a teenager, I was very good at getting rid of practically like all my hair and just being like, nope, no arm hair, no leg hair, no, like even at one point, I think I was like going as far as like, you know, even like the little like baby fuzzes that like you have sometimes like on your like chest and like your belly. And I'm like, fuck that, no, thank you. Not anymore. It's like I take my hair as a sign of abundance from the universe that I'm healthy and that I can grow thick, dark, beautiful hair. And that, I love the fact that I have these little silver hairs like popping up even more now in just all different parts of my body. And I love that. And the way that I see it is like it's an honor to get older. And when I was deciding, like, how much of my hair do I, need to leave on there? Should I go in with like my hairy legs and, all this stuff? It's like, well, how do you want to show up, Steph? That's completely up to you. However you want to show up in that space is entirely your choice. And so it's like, well, I feel comfortable, having my legs nicely shaven. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel confident about my legs and how they shine and how, you know, like how I feel about it. I no longer shave my arms like that. Thank goodness, because oh my God, that was just a point in my life where I was like spending like hours shaving like every part of my freaking body. And then now it's like I go into a space like that. I just have my legs like beautifully shaven, like my armpits, like a nice little, trim. And I'm like, dude, I feel so freaking confident. Like, I feel so confident in myself just showing up in all my fleshy goodness. And that's how it is. And I feel so proud of that. Like, after all these years of, going through so many moments in my life where, even at moments in my life where I was probably the tiniest I've ever been in my life, it wasn't like, it was always, I don't have big enough boobs, or, my, one of my breasts is kind of weird, or whatever it was. And now, like, the fact that I've grown into this, like, skin, this type of mindset, this type of safety within myself, like regulating myself and my nervous system to the point where I'm consenting to be seen like that. And then people are seeing it and they're just so loving about just the fact that I'm there, like showing off my body to them. That's amazing. I hope everyone in their life that wants to do something like that does it, because it is such a liberating experience. It is so freeing. And then afterwards, you're just like, okay. And then you go on with your day. And it's like, for me, I'm on a high because it makes me so happy to know that there's people like that out there, that there's other artists who view the human body beyond what is socially beautiful or acceptable. And I find that so incredible. The fact that I can not only view like people that way, because I do, since I was very young, I've been viewing the human form that way. I've been really studying it and capturing like its values and, you know, capturing expression in my work. And so now, after all these years later, the fact that I am able to be on the other end of that and then feel safe in that too, it's an incredible feeling. And I'm really, really proud of myself that I've gotten to a place where I can do something like that. And I hope it continues no matter how old I get, no matter how much my body may change, may become more muscly, become a little bit more wrinkled. Like, I hope that I'm this and more. And I have a strong feeling I will be, because for me, it's about the people that I want to surround myself with. It's about the people who are going to see me beyond what society deems as beautiful, what society may say is acceptable. And I'm so, so grateful that it's come to a point in my life where I'm finally just seeing people. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because I've looked within and seen myself. And that's been the most important thing of all, is seeing who I am beyond this body, beyond this like fleshy skin and muscles, and like who I am within is who I want people to see and who I often see in others. So, yeah, thanks for listening. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your insights. And if you ever get an opportunity like this, I really hope that you take it. And I hope that you allow yourself to be fully present when you do. There was an option at one point for me to read a book the first time that I posed. And at first I thought to myself, like, yeah, that would be nice. Like, read a book, the time will pass by so quick. But then at the same time, I thought to myself, how beautiful, how enriching would this experience be if I were to just allow it to be like, fully felt, fully experienced by me. And I'm so glad that I did that. I could see in the future, like, if I held like a really, really long pose, like maybe like a 2-hour pose, that I could, see myself, maybe, choosing a book at that point and be like, yeah, like, because that's also a part of it as well. It's like I'm still lying here completely naked. I'm still here being fully present. People are witnessing me. People are seeing my body. People are seeing, something that I'm doing. And like the only little difference is that I have a book to, pull my presence to. It's not like an object on the wall, or it's not another person. It's just me there with this book. And so I'd say if you're going to try it first without any distractions. Just be there, stand there, witness yourself. From my experience, I'm really proud of myself that I just showed up in my entirety, just in my presence, in my body. That was a really wonderful experience. And looking at it, it reminds you of like the practices that I do on a daily basis. It reminds me of like my it reminds me of my Telegram group, and this like channel just basically dedicated to people just coming in, taking what they need, like no need to, explain themselves or anything like that. You just come in, you look through the content, you see what speaks to you, and you try a little presence practice. You try a little creativity practice, and you're just like, well, damn, this feels easy. This feels possible. And little by little over time, that type of thing just like compounds and then it becomes your norm. It's like, I think it's so neat that I've come to a point where it's no longer like me posing is no longer like a thing of like the future, where I'm like, oh my God, it would be so great to do something like that. And it would be such a amazing experience. And me like, oh, but I could never do that. I can never do that because I'm not super fit, or because, you know, all these different stupid things that we may tell ourselves, that we may limit our minds to think, to feel. And then we freaking do it. And we're like, hey, look, I did that. I'm freaking awesome. I'm capable of taking action, even when everything in my mind sometimes says, you can't do that. People like you don't do that. All this nonsense. Anyways, again, thank you for listening. And if you're interested in the Telegram channel of goodness, of presence, I've called it the art of erotic aliveness. I think that's what I called it. Let me just look up to confirm. Did I call it that? The room of erotic aliveness. So I named this Telegram channel the room of erotic aliveness. And honestly, this thing has just been such a beautiful practice for me to also show up and to share that. And I think it's really proving helpful, because I have spent, all these months creating podcasts with other people and, really collecting all this like insight from all these other people. And then I'm like, I have a lot of insight already too, just in like my day to day and the things that I'm already implementing into my life. And so I'd like to share that more. And so coming on here and sharing with you is going to really be this beautiful experience for me as well. And I hope that whatever you take away from it, like whether even it's something like minuscule, something so small, that you take what you need and you leave the rest. I feel like in life, we can often like think that one person has maybe all the answers, or that this one person has built success and that's the way we need to build success, or that's the way we need to approach it. But actually, it's just one way. There are probably infinite ways that you can approach something like this. And the practice of creativity gets you into that like open-minded thinking, where you no longer just think in this very like one pathway, where you think like, oh, it's only this way because I've seen it like that for them, or it's only worked like this for me in the past, like this. But the beautiful thing about life is that you can create it however you want, and you can weave and bend, and your path can go in all different ups and downs and directions. And that's the fun. That's where we start to create this playful energy with our lives. And when I share this type of content, I'm really hoping that it does like spark something within you, where you can say to yourself, like, I've never done that, but that sounds freaking exciting. And if she can do it, so can I. And it just creates this beautiful, like, creative life force that we can all share and that we can all experience. So, yeah, that's my spiel. And if you're interested in the Telegram group, I'll put that in the description and all that goodness. Have a good one.